Hello everyone and welcome to the NinjaTrader Ecosystem Webinar Room. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment to test for picture and sound. So if you can hear my voice and see the projection in the room, please type a Y. Perfect. Thank you everyone. It looks like I'm coming in loud and clear. My name is Juanita Archuleta and I work on the NinjaTrader Business Development team here in our Denver office. We have a very special event for you today with Karen Hagans of FibAnalysis. At this time, I am going to place a poll into the room, and the question is, are you currently using NinjaTrader? While you fill that out, it is important to understand that there are substantial risks in trading commodities futures contracts. You should carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you and will depend on your specific circumstance and financial resources. It is possible to lose all funds deposited with your broker and could even incur losses beyond these amounts. Please inquire at the following link for more information or for a full copy of the full risk CFTC risk disclosure. Also, please remember that these training webinars are not a solicitation nor a recommendation, but simply educational in nature. This presentation is presented by NinjaTrader LLC, which is a technology company responsible for developing and supporting the NinjaTrader trading software. Any brokerage-related questions should be directed to the NinjaTrader brokerage directly at the following number or by emailing brokerage-sales@ninjatrader.com. And I am going to go ahead and review today's poll results. So it looks like 26% of you are currently using our free license key, 28% of you are lifetime license holders, 17% of you are leasing a live key, and 23% of you are not yet using NinjaTrader. NinjaTrader is free for advanced charting, market analytics, automated strategy development, connecting to a live data provider, and simulated trading. We only charge for our product if and when you do decide to trade live through any of our supported brokerages. If you have not done so already, I would invite you to download the NinjaTrader platform for free using the following link. You can also purchase or lease NinjaTrader using the following link. Today, Karen will teach you how to apply Fibonacci analysis to your trading. Thank you again for your attendance, and without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome to the NinjaTrader webinar room, Karen Hagans of FibAnalysis. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Juanita, and thanks to everybody for joining us today. I want to thank the team at NinjaTrader for sponsoring the event and the tremendous support they provide to the NinjaTrader ecosystem. If it's possible, can you hold your questions to the end? I'll keep an eye on the chat, but it tends to move pretty quickly, so your question may be lost. So if you have something you'd like me to cover, please go ahead and write it down, and we'll make sure we get to it at the end. Again, Juanita went through the disclosures and disclaimers. I'd like you to take a minute and just glance at these. It is important. You can lose substantial funds when trading futures or Forex. So let's keep that in mind as we think about building a strategy and how you trade. Check these disclaimers on occasion because they'll continue to keep you thinking about how to best manage your trading. In today's session, we'll talk a little bit about who we are, what we do, and how our trading tools may benefit you in your trading. We won't have enough time to show real-time charts or go through all the details of all of our trading tools, but that's why we have frequent demo sessions. We go through our software and we can answer your questions. The date of the next demo session is always on the home page of our website. I'll talk more about the demo sessions as we get close to wrapping up. FibAnalysis was previously Focal Point Trading Systems. We made the decision to change our name to FibAnalysis, which better describes what we do. Our focus is really on Fibonacci analysis. We have also developed delta volume and trigger tools that work well with our Fib tools, and they can potentially enhance your trading methodology. We currently offer a Ninja 7 version of our software. We've begun the development process for the Ninja 8 version. Since our tools are somewhat complex, we don't yet have a release date. We'll provide updates on our site especially when we get closer to release. Many of you have heard about Fibonacci ratios. Maybe you use them on occasion, or you'd like to use them, but we're not quite sure which fibs to use or which swings to use. Our software was designed after a great deal of study and backtesting. My background's in mathematics. When I began trading, I noticed there was a mathematical relationship between different swings on the charts. I started to do some research, and then I studied with some professional traders who use fibs, and I began testing this type of analysis. I still wasn't convinced, so I built some software on my own. It was really pretty basic, and I wanted to test and see whether these relationships really occurred on the charts. I finally invested a bit more money and a bit more time to build more complex tools because I realized after a great deal of backtesting that the markets often respected these Fibonacci levels. In order to use Fibonacci analysis, we also realized that it's important to determine which swings and pivots are the most important. Our proprietary algorithm clearly identifies swings and pivots for multiple swing strengths. Say that fast 3 times. So think about that. Not only do you have major pivots, which are the most significant, then you'll have potential pullbacks, which go to an intermediate swing, and then you might find very, very small, what we'll call minor swings and pivots that are really almost scalping swings. With our tools, you can plot, the swings and pivots for the time frame that's on your chart, as well as those from additional higher time frames. So think about that. It's almost as if you've laid a higher time frame chart on top of your shorter term chart or your trigger chart, and you can see at any particular point whether or not a pivot is maybe a 15-minute pivot or a 60-minute pivot. And this becomes really important as you begin to lay out which swings and pivots you want to use to do your analysis. So our proprietary algorithm, again, identifies these swings and pivots. And then what we have are 2 Fibonacci trading tools. One of them automatically plots your fibs, and the other one you can select the pivots on your own. Fib Point is the one that plots fibs automatically. It's extremely powerful, but we found that your eye may be better than an algorithm to select the swings you'd like to use. So we created Protrader. This allows you to manually select the swings you'd like to use. So you see the pivots, your high or low pivots, and you click on them. All these swings and pivots are stored, so you can select any swing you'd like. We'll show you some examples in the upcoming charts. To support our type of fib trading, we also built Delta Point that visually represents the net difference between buyers and sellers entering the market at any point in time. So it's really important to think about that. We also store these values. There are some tools out there that don't keep the charts on your chart, but on ours they persist. So if you refresh your chart, those delta values will stay on your chart. Our bundle also includes 3 trigger tools. We have a moving average, value chart, and a trend stop. This is a list of the tools that we include in our bundle. Again, everything is sold together, so when you purchase our Protrader bundle, you'll get all of these tools. Let's think about using fibs in trading. It's been around for decades. Movements in Dow theory were sometimes described to retrace 33 to 66%, which is similar to some key Fibonacci levels. The golden ratio of 618 is seen throughout nature. We see it all the time, and for whatever reason, these mathematical relationships seem to occur over and over in trading. We also find them on virtually all chart types, And we also see whether you're trading stocks, futures, ETFs, even Forex, spot Forex or Forex futures. These Fib levels come into play. You can incorporate both your retracements, projection, and expansions from any time frame and any swing. As you become familiar with incorporating Fibonacci analysis into your trading, you can build areas where multiple Fib levels come together in what we call confluent zones. These tend to provide key areas of support and resistance. So if you think about Fib levels from multiple time frames, multiple swings coming together, those can really help you begin to identify places where you'd want to look in advance to enter a trade. When you look at charts, you see a number of swings. You'll have a high and a low. And within that swing, what you can have are retracements. And this is where markets pull back, and then you'll resume the trend. You might see that price moves outside of your predefined swing, and it'll go to an area above the high or low. We call these external retracements, and these are where you might find that markets will reverse. You can see extensions or projections. Some people call them ABC patterns. And in those cases, price will move up, it retraces, and then it makes a third move that is of similar size to the initial move. And all of those things tend to occur over and over on your charts. Look at two types of retracements as we talked about those. Again, they're internal retracements that occur inside of your swing. The most common that we have looked at and back-tested are the 38.2, 50, 618, and 78.6%. The external retracements are where price will move outside of that 100% range. And the most common that we have found with our testing were price going to, excuse me, the 127.2 and the 161.8. So think about that. You'll have a swing. Markets will pull back inside an internal retracement and resume a trend, or they may go outside of that initial swing where a market may reverse, and then you may find that it'll come back into an internal retracement. Let's talk about Protrader, which again is our manual Fibonacci analysis tool. This includes our proprietary algorithm, which again identifies your swings and pivots. When we plot swings and pivots, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, you can plot the actual pivot level, the value on your chart. It will plot the number, and also if it's for multiple time frames or for multiple swing strengths, all of those will be plotted. Sorry about my tongue-tied. And it's really important when you can quickly glance up at your chart, you see the value of that pivot, and then you can also look to the left and see if that pivot level was something that showed up not too long ago, or if that has become significant support and resistance over time. And with a couple of mouse clicks, you can then begin to add your Fib levels using Protrader. All of the aspects of Protrader, whether it's your zones, how you present your levels on the chart, the fonts you use, all of that is fully customizable, and that becomes really important. We've set this up if you happen to have a white chart background, but if you happen to trade with a black background or a different color, or you may want to make your text larger, all of that can be changed to your liking. Now, Fib Point uses the same pivot algorithm, but what it actually does is automatically plot fibs. This is a pretty powerful thing to be able to use. We call these fibs on the fly. We have a side panel in this indicator. This was, again, our first indicator, and that is a side panel, and you select which which fib levels you'd like to have displayed, and then you determine as the automatic pivots unfold which ones you want to use. Maybe you decide that for all of your retracements, you'd like to use the major pivots. So what you do is you set all that up, and each time a new pivot unfolds, the market will, we call it flip. It'll go to your next swing, and the new pivot levels will unfold. There's a disadvantage to that, though, because as these new pivots unfold, you lose that prior fib level that may be important to you. That's why we make both of these tools available. It's part of the bundle, so you can have automatic Fibonacci analysis. At the same time, you can manually select any swing that you'd like to use. Your eye often picks swings that might be more significant than an algorithm. An algorithm has been programmed to look at different aspects on the chart and different look-back periods and all of that. But you may say, this is an important level that I want to plot for the long term, and those zones or fib levels will stay on your chart. I'm hopeful that that makes sense. I know I'm covering a lot of information here. So let's go back and look a little bit at what we talked about as internal retracements. There's an A to B swing where you have A as your low, B as your high, and within that swing you can see all of the different levels that could be considered as internal retracements. Those all have a mathematical basis. I've done the analysis on all of those and looked at how each level was derived, and at some point I think what I'll do is put all of that on the website. Here's an example using Protrader. So what we've done is you can see that, and I know this may be a little bit hard for you to see, there are pivot values that you can see that are either blue, black, or even magenta at the very bottom. The blue levels are our intermediate pivots, again defined by our algorithm. The black are the major, and the magenta is both an intermediate, a major, and a 15-minute pivot. So we're looking at a 618 volume chart, but what we've identified is varying pivots, and we also have overlaid, in a sense, that 15-minute chart, and you can see that that low at, I believe it's 58.1675, it's a little hard for me to see, is also a 15-minute pivot. So begin to think about that, and that becomes a really important pivot in your analysis. And when you click on these various highs and lows, you can see the zones that are plotted. When you plot these zones, you can move them to the right or to the left. You can't obviously move them to the top or the bottom because then they wouldn't maintain the integrity of what the zone is. They're labeled as to what type of zone it is and what chart it's from. You can click on them. You can remove individual zones. You can remove an entire analysis. There's a tremendous amount of power in Protrader. And again, this is the one where you manually select whatever pivots you want. And what I find interesting as I glance at this chart, not every single level is respected, but in a significant number of these cases, price came down into a 50 to 618 level or up to a 78 or 88% level, and it reversed. These can be plotted well in advance, so as price moves up or down into these, you can begin to plan your trade. Now, this obviously is something we're showing statically, but this is using Fib Point, and what you'll see is that the major swing is plotted with a black line, and these two levels, there's about a Dodger blue level that's our 50%, a royal blue that's a 618. That was plotted as soon as that major swing completed. So what you're able to do is have that on your chart and wait for price to approach that level. Again, it doesn't always get there. It's not always going to go to these levels, but what it gives you is a higher probability area to look to enter a trade. And with Fib Point, it does this automatically for you. You'll see the panel on the side, And this is where you set everything up. Again, there's a lot here, and that's why with our demo sessions and some training, we can help you begin to understand how to really implement this. Again, let's look at external retracements. We have that same A to B move, but we went outside of that. And you can see that 100% is the same move. A 127 and a 161.8 occur quite frequently. These are some external retracements that were plotted using Protrader. Again, what we did is we picked a swing that occurred. We clicked low to high. These levels occurred. They were plotted on the chart. And what I tend to do, and people that use our tools, wait for price to come into these levels, and then you can take a little bit of time to plan your trade. This, again, was using our automatic auto fibs on the fly from Fib Point. You can see price came right into that level. I'm showing some different chart types as well. I've used volume charts. This is a Uniranka chart. I've had access to that. What's beautiful about this is it works on virtually any chart type, even custom bar types. You don't really have to worry about that. And here's what we call a price extension. Again, it's an ABC pattern, so you have a move from A to B. It pulls back, and oftentimes you'll see that pullback from B to C might be to a fib level. For example, a 50% retracement. It'll pull back to the B, and then you have a move again to the upside that will be of similar size or distance as the A to B move. These can also be really powerful, and these are really important if you want to build a confluent zone. Danny, I think as I mentioned, in our short period of time, I'm not going to be able to show live charts. We'll be doing that more in a demo room. So again, if you look at your price extensions or projections, I talked to you, they're like an ABC pattern. And here's some examples. You can't really see the dotted gray line, but those are the swings that allowed for these extensions to unfold. Again, this is with Fib Point. It's very difficult in a demo session to run a live chart and try to go through it. But our goal is to acquaint you with what we do and how we look at charts, and then we can talk to you more about how to implement them in another session. So let's talk about building a price cluster or a confluent zone. That would be a combination of any of these retracements or extensions and expansions that I mentioned previously. They come together in a relatively tight range. Again, you can see them on a single time frame, or with our power of what we do, even multiple time frames where they all come together. We like to look at least two of these types of analysis to come together in a very tight range. Here's the types of things that you can use to build a confluence, where you go low to high, you look at your retracements. So you have your internal retracements, your external retracements, and again, price projections. And these Fibonacci levels that we have on here are ones that we tend to use in our analysis. Again, the 38.2, 50%, 618, 78.6. I'm going to stop for a second and give you guys a minute to kind of think about what we're presenting here and see what comes to mind for you. We build confluence also, the same type of analysis. I'm wondering how many of you have looked at a chart and looked at the swings that unfold and asked yourself, why did price stop there? It's what got me beginning to think about this type of analysis and looking at a very basic chart and saying price stopped at a particular level. Why did that happen? So here's a confluent zone that we built using Protrader that had multiple time frames and again multiple fib levels that came together. And when these occur, you're likely to find, again, it doesn't happen all the time, but you're likely to find either significant support or resistance. Here's another confluent zone that occurred actually both at the high and the low in this move, and you can see that price tended to move right off of that. Here's a confluent zone that was done automatically with Fib Point. So if you happen to be a trader that has a lot going on, you're looking at a number of different things, Fib Point can really help you if you select in advance that you want to use, for example, major swings on your retracements or intermediate swings on your price projections. Every time a new swing occurs, those will be displayed on your chart. Here's a combination of both Protrader and Fib Point. And you can see how some of these larger zones that come from Protrader came from very large swings. And they actually occurred, I can't show you how far to the left, where that swing began. But you're able to look for these levels to unfold, and you know before price gets there that that is potentially going to be a place where price is likely to pause. You might see what happens in this chart. It came into that level. It bounced around a little bit before it moved off of there. That some of those levels are well known by professional traders. So you think to yourself, which swings matter and why? Again, the major swings are the ones that are the most significant. Those in our charts are identified with a black pivot dot. You can change the color. You can change them as you choose. What you might do if you don't like having those pivot values on your chart, you can choose to select just a swing line that connects your major pivots also. So it's important to think about whether or not you tend to be a trader who likes to look at the numbers, to look at the values where price stopped, be able to look to the left to see whether that was a significant level in the past, or whether you might like to just look at lines. You may choose to not have either one on your chart, but you just want to select the fibs. We recommend you at least plot the pivots so you know which levels are important, and especially which are the majors and the intermediates. I think that if you take time, no matter whether you use our tools or you do other types of Fibonacci analysis, take time to look at your charts. Begin to start thinking about charts in this way and think about how markets pull back and where they move to, and start to think about whether these significant moves could improve how you look at your charts. Now, Delta Point, I'm going to switch over to Delta Point now. And what I thought about as, again, I had these key levels on my chart, I thought, how do I know, for example, if I'm looking to re-enter with the trend, or if I'm looking at a reversal area, whether or not I'm trading in sync with the rest of the market? So I started to think about not just waiting to see whether a bar closed as green or red, but watching what happened inside the bar. I wanted to know if buyers or sellers were still in charge. Sometimes I would find that markets would continue to move up, but it would move really dramatically, or it would just kind of slow down. So what I was able to do is build our version of Delta Point, which is, again, a net bid-ask, which shows you the net difference between buyers and sellers that occurs at any point in time. So on any candle that you're looking at, you can see, or any bar on your chart, you can see whether buyers and sellers are in charge. And what you can sometimes see is markets will pull in they'll come into a low, but the buyers have started to also come in. And what happens is, in order for price to move, or in order to a trend to change, buyers, in this case, have to overtake sellers. So what you want to see is when the buyers really come in and start moving the market. And by looking at Delta Point, it allows you to start to look inside the bar and see whether buyers or sellers are in charge. Now, we built this with the opportunity to display it as a chart cell. Chart cells, which I tend to prefer, histogram, or you can even use it as paint bars. When you use the color scale option, which I can show you at some point, and I'll also suggest that you go to our website. I'll talk about that when I wrap up. The color scale shows magnitude. So let's think about whether you have extreme buying on a particular bar. You can set the color scale option on our delta point to show extreme buying or selling. That might be of interest to you. We do that in some cases. We call them gold bars. I set them up as gold, and you can see significant buying and selling. And you will, on occasion or quite often, see those at reversals. So this is giving you an opportunity to not just see buying and selling, but magnitude. Now, if you use the entire color scale, it can be a little overwhelming, and I'll show you on a chart. Chart cells can be seen at either the top, or you can display them on either the top or bottom of your price chart, and they will show the number of buyers, net buyers or sellers per bar. And important, and I know some people have asked me about that, so these do persist on your chart. So now you might get a headache looking at this, but this is meant to give you an example of magnitude. So if you look at this and you look at the various colors, we set this up based on varying net bid-ask levels. You can see a gold bar. There was significant buying on that bar. What you can also see is as we come up into that high, that black pivot at the top of your chart, there was significant buying coming into that level before the market reversed. And then you'll start to see the red bars. And you'll start to see that the sellers increased as it turned. So this is just one way, if you happen to have our tools, that you can display it. You can also change all of these colors. Maybe you have everything be green except for the extreme bars. You're welcome to do that. They're fully customizable. So think about the power of being able to look inside a bar. Now, I know this is really tiny, but these are the chart cells, and they're on the bottom of your price chart. You can also put them on the top if you want. And these are showing the actual numbers of net buying and selling per bar. And what can be powerful is as you begin to look at price maybe coming into a pullback or at an external retracement, and you want to look at a reversal, you want to start watching to see when sellers come in. And either one of these views can give you a little bit of an advantage. Again, I want to reinforce that none of these are perfect and none of them work all the time, and they don't work perfectly. But trading is, you think about trading and it's about risk to reward. And if you can put as many things in your favor as you look to enter a trade, be it Fibonacci zones or looking at buying and selling, it can begin to improve your success in trading. We also included in our bundle, we also include 3 trigger tools. These are things that I used in my trading. I built them and I just included them for other people. That's the reason that I created this as a bundle. I built them, I use these tools all the time, and I felt that if I'm going to use them, I'm going to make them available to people that want to incorporate this type of trading into their trade strategy. So we built a moving average. We have our version of value chart and a trend stop. So we recommend, and you may have other tools that you use that you really like, that you begin to really rely on. You can integrate any of those tools into what we have here. This is all about building a trade strategy that works for you. And you may find that these could really help you, or these may, or all 3 of them may not be of benefit. So our moving average, it's a slope-based moving average that identifies very short-term trend. And because it's slope-based, it can signal a potential change in trend. And when it does that, if you set it up properly, it'll turn whatever color you select for your flat slope, and you may see that the market will reverse. You can also paint the bars based on the moving average, and that can be really powerful. And as I've mentioned with all of our tools, they're fully customizable. So what you can see is this particular chart of our moving average is using both the line and the paint bars. And if you choose not to use the line, you don't need that. You may decide that these paint bars really help you see the market and the trend in a way that really helps you. One thing that I like to do is when I come into a particular zone, a high probability reversal zone, that what I like to see is that we come into the zone, and I like to see the moving average turn, and I like to see a bar of the appropriate, if it's a short, I like to see a red bar close below the moving average. And then I like to watch delta point move in my favor, and I'll be watching what happens with value chart. Cesar, we only have our tools currently for NinjaTrader. So again, this moving average may be a benefit to you. Our value chart, again, the original value chart was developed by David Stendhal. And what it's really good at doing is showing you when price is overbought, oversold, or at fair value. But what occurs with the calculations within value chart, it's a normalized price. It's a complex mathematical formula. And it does normalize whether you plot them as candlesticks or line chart or whatever, it normalizes what's plotted on the chart, and it tends to lead price a little bit. And what we also find is it's really powerful for looking for divergence. Here's our value chart, and you can see the white area in the middle is fair value, and then you have the yellow area on top, which is oversold, and then the rose color, which is or on the bottom, oversold and extremely oversold, and then overbought and extremely overbought. Well, you also have the option to plot that. You can see it says moderately overbought on your price chart. You can plot that or not. If I have chart cells on my chart, I turn that off because then it plots on top of the chart cells. Again, all of this is fully customizable. This particular chart, I tried to make it a little bit larger. You can start to see divergence. And this is when you have a higher high in price, for example, and you start to see that value chart turns quicker. And you also like to look at when price comes in to the extremely overbought or extremely oversold areas. And there's some features in our value chart that allow you to plot some different things on your chart, and it just tends to be a really powerful tool. Our trend stop is based on ATR, and you can plot either a trailing stop, an ATR-based trailing stop. We also plot entry arrows. There's an option to plot entry arrows and paint bars. What's important to remember that the arrows don't repaint, but what will happen is they will plot on a bar at the open of the next bar. So keep that in mind. There's no way to plot an arrow on the current bar until at the moment that it closes, it actually plots on the open of the next bar. But the beauty of it is it doesn't repaint, so once you get that arrow, it's a nice place to look to potentially enter a trade. So what you can think about here are what the arrows look like. This is a chart that allows you to see it very clearly. Now, what's important to realize is when you get in chop, these arrows in and of themselves are not going to help you. I use this chart to show you what the paint bars are like and how the arrows look. But it's important if you come into one of our high probability reversal zones to think about this as a potential way to assist in your entry when you get an arrow to plot. Now what you can also do, and you have the option to also plot hollow candlesticks with this, and the tiny dots that are above and below the candles are your trailing stop. And you have the option to turn those on or off. There's quite a bit of flexibility in all of our tools. So after our little discussion here, I want you to think about, maybe ask yourself a few questions. And this goes to thinking about your charts and how you trade. And have you thought about which swings in the market become significant? And have you thought about looking at how price retraces before it moves up again, and if that occurs in an area that is of significance to you? Dimitri, that was a Renko chart. You can use it with Renko or Hagans charts. It doesn't really matter. Again, what are the intermediate swings, and how do those coincide with swings that occur inside of your major swing? When price moves outside of that, a major swing or a swing that you're looking at, where is it likely to go before the reversal occurs? We talked about confluence a little bit, and have you thought about whether you've used Fibonacci to identify support and resistance? Because it can really help you manage risk. If in fact you're looking at a chart, you're looking to enter a trade, if you look at a Fibonacci zone or become familiar with these can potentially help you look at some places to put your stop, rather than just a number of ticks, but at a particular price level. So how can you learn more? I mentioned that, again, as we look at time, we're getting pretty close to the end of our hour here. And I really wouldn't have had time to go through live charts for all of these different indicators. So what we do is we have demo sessions where we'll go through the charts. We use GoToMeeting, and each particular session is limited to 25 people in the GoToMeeting session that subscription that I have. And usually that's about enough people to manage in a demo session. So we will have as many demo sessions as we need, and we have them all the time. The next one is this Saturday. And what you do is you go to our website, www.FibAnalysis.com, and over on the right-hand side, it will give you the date of our next demo session, date and time, and an opportunity to register for it. And once you register for it, I believe you get an auto response from us. And what I will then do, or any of us will do, is send you a GoToMeeting link for the session. Now, what I'm thinking of doing, depending on how many people would like to come into demo sessions, I could also do one tomorrow at about the same time. What we try to do is spread them out a little bit in time for those of you that are overseas or in different time zones. And so I'm definitely already have people scheduled for the Saturday session. And if you are interested in a session on Friday at around that time, email support@FibAnalysis.com, and in the subject line say Friday demo. And if I get a few of those, what I can do is put together a session, and I'll send you a GoToMeeting link. I'd like to provide everybody an opportunity, while this is fresh in your mind, to come into a session and ask whatever questions we don't have time to get to today. So we provide, I think, a tremendous opportunity. For all 5 of these indicators, we sell them currently for $4.95. And for those of you that are buying it in 2017, we're going to include a free upgrade to the Ninja 8 version. And so if you think about it, two really powerful Fibonacci tools are Delta Volume Tool and 3 Trigger Tools are $4.95. But we're going to offer a 50% savings if you came to this session, which drops the price to $4.45. What you do is you go to our website, www.FibAnalysis.com. I didn't include a screenshot of our website, but you go to the purchase page on FibAnalysis.com, and there's an opportunity to enter a discount code. And we made our discount code today's date, which is 2017 8/31, so 2017-0831. And we're going to make this available through September 9th. We're going to do another session on September 9th. So we want to give people an opportunity to come to one of our demo sessions. Maybe you want to come to 2 of the demo sessions. You want to look at some things on our site and we'll make this available again through September 9th. We have thought about raising the price. Again, it's a great value, but for right now, I think it's important that we provide value to traders and give you an opportunity to learn and have these tools to assist you however you like to trade and with whatever instrument you like to trade. So again, if you need more information or you lose our discount code, you can email us at sales@FibAnalysis.com or support@FibAnalysis.com. Now I know that Juanita has mentioned in chat and a few times that this is a recorded session and it will be available through NinjaTrader. We have just updated our website. We're in the process of continuing to upgrade and update this website all the time. We have additional information on the site, and we're going to be adding a number of videos in probably the next 2 to 3 weeks. I also think it's important to mention that we have a subscriber portal. So what you do when you purchase our software, we send you a link to log into the subscriber portal on our website. This is where you download software. We'll have copies of this PowerPoint. We have training videos. We have other information about Fibonacci analysis. We'll be doing more blog postings. So there will be a lot more on our site. We just were waiting to get it all built out and then begin to really take advantage of all that it provides. So what I'm going to try to do here is look over at the chat, and we have about 15 minutes, and I'll see if there are questions that I can answer. And I really welcome any questions, and I'm hopeful that the information that I presented was clear and that you began to understand what we do and how our tools work. It's a lot to comprehend, and again, it's difficult not having live charts and the opportunity to click on things in this type of session. But I think that there's a lot that we can do to help you begin to see markets in a different light. When will NT8 be available? I really don't know. Our programmer is really backed up. I would like to take a minute and just say that we've spent a lot of time in developing our tools, and again, because of the nature of how we built them with lots of different drawing options and the multiple time frame and all of the different types of analysis that we provide, they're a little bit more sophisticated than a traditional indicator. And the programmer that we have used and that we do use is really busy. And so what we need to do is make sure, I come from a background of programming again in mathematics, and I want to make sure that we have a really solid plan on before we build it out, because it's going to require almost a full rewrite in order to make it Ninja 8 compatible. And it's a lengthy and somewhat expensive process, so we really want to think it through. And as we do that, we're really reliant upon those Ninja programmers that are available to us and when they have time. Does that make sense with regard to Ninja 8? Oh, let me talk a little bit about Bloodhound, and because some of you know that we've worked with Bloodhound in the past, not as much currently. And what we found, and I know I really enjoy working with Daniel, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, for Daniel Rowe. What we found is because of the number of swings and pivots and time frames that we use, we had to add a single instance, for those of you that understand Bloodhound, of our indicator for virtually every one of those. And what we found is it tended to slow down your charting quite a bit. It really was a very difficult thing to make it work effectively and efficiently because of, number one, the complexity of how we used Fib Point as our engine and how Fib Point worked. Again, think about all the time frames, retracements, extensions, and all the levels. And it became really challenging. So as it stands right now, we found that it wasn't efficient for traders to to incorporate that into Bloodhound at this time until we can think about a new release and how to make this more efficient within Bloodhound. So again, the videos that we're working on will be on YouTube as well as on our site. And I expect that we'll find that we post quite a few more of those in the upcoming weeks. And what we'll do is, if you check our site periodically, and you can find that we will update that as to when new videos are available. We don't have emails to send to everyone to let them know, so check our site. We recommend that's the most efficient way to do that. What other questions might I be able to answer before we wrap up? Raymond, I have a great deal of respect for Daniel too. Can you use this to find advanced patterns? Well, really what I tend to do as I use our Fibonacci analysis tools, I use Protrader quite a bit when I'm looking at a bigger picture. And what I'm looking at is long-term highs and lows that I want to have persist on my chart. So I plot those levels in advance. So what I'm doing is looking at maybe the move that occurred overnight, or I'm looking at a significant move that occurred at the open. What I do is then I plot my zones. So I have them on the chart. I plot both the internal and the external retracements, so they're there. Then what I tend to do is wait for Fib Point to also plot zones for me automatically, or if we have shorter term swings that occur within that major swing, I'll plot those levels. I wait for things to come together, and then as price approaches one of our zones, I tend to wait to watch price action. I'll look to see what's happening with delta point. I'll look for divergence in value chart, and I tend to wait to see a close of a bar below our moving average, and that is a potential trigger into a trade using our tools. Again, if you choose to use other tools with this, or you want to combine what you guys do with this, it works beautifully. We have clients who use many of their own indicators. Some people use VWAP. I also, although I don't have it on here, I use the floor trader pivots that are standard in NinjaTrader. I use a 120 period exponential moving average for trend. I do a couple of other things that can help me to again add additional, that provides additional confirmation as price begins to come into one of our levels. No, we don't sell the indicators separately at this time. We just found that we provide a great value, and so we just wanted to sell them at a very affordable price as a bundle. Does anybody else have questions, thoughts, suggestions? So if you're interested in learning more about what we do, again, if you go to www.FibAnalysis.com, you'll see the demo session registration link over on the right. Click on that. We'll keep a list. If we get close to 25 people, I'll let people know, and we'll have to move people into a different day. Raymond, to go back to your 60-minute question, that's an important one to think about. On a 618 volume, you can easily plot the 15, the 60-minute on that chart. What's important to remember is you need enough bars on your chart for the swings to unfold. And you also need to think about how you look to the left. Now, what I didn't also mention is that if you have turned on higher time frames and you click on a pivot that has the higher time frame, that's a higher time frame pivot, it will also plot the Fibonacci zones or levels for that higher time frame. So in some cases, it will help you build your confluent zones. So Raymond, yes, I do that. I turn on my 618 volume or a Renko chart I use, I turn on 15 and 60-minute pivots. I make sure that I have at least 5 to 7 days on there to make sure that you have adequate swings unfolding. You don't need to add, in that case, a 5-minute, for example, time frame, because it's going to be so close to your 618 volume. It'll just double plot those zones or those fibs. Did that answer your question, Raymond? Are there any other questions that I might have missed? I know we're getting close to wrapping up here. Now, I do urge everybody, if you go to our website, you'll see a further explanation of our tools with some different charts. And I expect that a number of the videos that I'm working on will be plotted, will be made available through YouTube and on the site probably next week. I wanted to make sure I had everything ready for this presentation and some things for the ecosystem. And then we'll get those videos done. And I'm also working on a series of training videos. Protrader is the most difficult to learn, so I'm going to be, I'm working on the training video right now that is broken into about 3 to 5 minute segments, so you don't have to watch a full hour to learn about one particular aspect of Protrader or Fib Point. And all of those, again, when we do our videos, our training videos, those are all available. That are available only to clients. Those are in our subscriber portal. Juanita, how am I doing on time here?
We have a few more minutes if anyone has any other questions. If not, I just want to mention that I did post in the room the discount here that FibAnalysis has offered. And so that way you can click directly on the FibAnalysis.com purchase page and enter in that discount code there.
I just looked at my email on my other machine. There are some people that are interested in a Friday session. So what I will plan on doing is a session on Friday at 11 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock. I'm in Denver, so it's 9 o'clock Mountain. And I will pull all of those and send you a link to join me in GoToMeeting tomorrow morning. We're also keeping a list for some of you who have already are actively using NinjaTrader 8. We wished we were there. Trust me, we really do. We're keeping a list of people that are interested in Ninja 8. And so if this is something that you'd like to use when our Ninja 8 version is available, email us with that as well. And we have a list in our database of everybody who's interested in a Ninja 8 version. And we're sure hopeful we can get that built sooner rather than later. Dimitri, tomorrow will be at 11 o'clock Eastern. I don't know what it is GMT for those of you that might be overseas. And what I'm also going to begin to do is try to do some sessions in the evenings or different times where I can allow those of you overseas to join them. But what we will do is actively keep these demo sessions, make them available on our website if you're not able to attend. And also for those of you that have been to the site, we do have a free moving average, multi-time frame moving average that's available if you'd like to download that. Juanita, I really appreciate the opportunity to participate in this event. And I know that it's Labor Day weekend for those in the U.S., so I appreciate you taking the time. And I also want to wish my best to anybody who has family in Texas. It's been a really challenging time, and I send my best regards.
Thank you, Karen. We appreciate it. I want to also give Karen a special thank you to joining us today in the room and for giving a great presentation on behalf of FibAnalysis. NinjaTrader Ecosystem is pleased to sponsor these weekly vendor events as a value-added service for our clients. If you do find value in these events, we hope you attend them on a regular basis. We would like to remind you the information provided in this was that of FibAnalysis and not of NinjaTraders. All information was for educational purposes and should not be construed as trading advice. If anyone else is interested in joining us in additional training events or platform training events, I have included our link in the room for the event times on those. Again, we do appreciate the time you spend with us, and we enjoy having you in these events. Thank you again, Karen. Everyone enjoy the rest of your day, and happy trading from all of us here at NinjaTrader.